Welcome to the Raptor News Channel. The most critical point has been reached. The Israeli army has launched its biggest offensive since the beginning of the war. All the terrorist organizations have risen up. Israeli F-35s entered the center of Lebanon. Jets started flying over Beirut. Simultaneously, a counterattack by terrorist organizations began in the coastal strip. Israeli forces are on the offensive, and the situation is more critical than ever. The war has officially begun at every point in the south and west. Without wasting time, let's fast forward to the most critical day of the war. First, for about 10 days, fighting and advances had been taking place along the coastal line of the Gaza Strip. Israeli forces surrounded the coastline from the north and south, leaving only 3 kilometers of the coastline. During this period, the Hamas terrorist organization launched counterattacks and resistance along the line. Today, however, the small operations ended and the Israeli army officially started the big operation with all its troops. With the evening hours, it was observed that Israeli tanks took sudden action. Israeli tanks, which were deployed on the 2 points you see on the map in the past days, started to attack very suddenly. On the Al-Rashid highway, Israeli tanks were observed moving northward. In the meantime, the infantry started to advance on 2 lines, parallel to the road where the tanks were advancing. 2. Israeli forces in the northern part of the coastal strip moved simultaneously to advance southward. The terrorist organizations expected a major attack from the Israeli-controlled northern front, but the first attack came from the south. For this reason, Merkava tanks advanced in a straight line along the coastal line without being attacked, and an area of 1 kilometer came under Israeli control. In the meantime, the infantry, advancing on a parallel road, confronted the Hamas terrorist organization at the border of the Jamal Abdel Nasser ring road. It was noticed that the terrorist organizations were deployed in the area to make a welcome at the entrance to the highway. However, within a very short period of time, fierce clashes broke out. As the clashes intensified, tanks were mobilized on the parallel road. The rapid advance of the tanks led to the cornering of a group of 30 militants in the Al-Khartoum area. When the infantry on the coastal strip returned to the parallel road and attacked, the group of 30 militants was eliminated in a single point. However, I clearly observed a large number of terrorists launching a counterattack. If the Israeli forces achieve their objective on the coastal strip, the army will return abruptly to the eastern line. On the other hand, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Hamas organization expected the Israeli army to attack from the north. Therefore, the organization shifted most of its forces to the north. As the Israeli forces advanced from the southern line, the Hamas organization launched an attack on the northern line. The first attack took place on Al-Mashtal Street, which is under Israeli control. As the terror groups attacked, Israeli forces quickly launched a counterattack. Israeli forces sent 2 units to counterattack from the east of the first attack point you can see on the map. However, Israeli forces advancing from the eastern line started to organize a counterattack. According to the first statement made, the Israeli forces stated that the clashes in the region have come to a standstill, but a small progress has been made. At the same time, it was reported that clashes broke out around Shait as Israeli forces infiltrated into the interior of Gaza. Currently, around the Shait camp, the fiercest fighting of the operation is taking place. Neither side has been able to make any progress, but as a result of the air and tank attacks, many members of the terrorist organization have been killed. 2 tanks of the Israeli forces were attacked in the vicinity of Shait camp. Due to the damage to the tanks, they were towed to a safe zone and later moved to Israeli territory to be repaired. During this process, 1 Merkava tank and 1 bulldozer used to destroy the tunnels were destroyed by the Al-Qassam Brigade during a sudden entry into the city. The Al-Qassam Brigade hid in a high-rise building on the street and launched an attack with anti-tank missiles from inside the building. In the process, warplanes destroyed the high-rise building where the terrorist group was hiding. It was reported that 20 Hamas members were eliminated as a result of the attack. In the process, 3 tanks and 1 bulldozer of the Israeli army were taken out of service, and at least 100 Hamas members were eliminated. Therefore, there could be a major rupture in the region in a short period of time. Because the Israeli forces have made a very rapid advance from the southern line without encountering any obstacles. The terror groups are pinned down on the point you see on the map. The only aid point is the center of Gaza, which is in the east of the region, but the terrorist organizations stuck in the middle will be attacked from many different points, both from the north and the south. The coastal strip will probably be completely under control within a day. As you can see, the advance is not over a narrow area. Therefore, if the 2 points under Israeli control are combined, a massive all-out attack on the center of Gaza will begin. Hamas has deployed all its forces in the coastal strip and has lost a lot of fighters. If there is a major breakthrough at this point, we will clearly see a very rapid advance of Israeli forces. Simultaneously, the third attack started on the eastern line of the northern front. Terrorist organizations formed many fronts and started to attack from different points. But on the northern front, Hamas suffered a major defeat. The 7th Armored Brigade of the Israeli forces captured the large terrorist camp at the point where Hamas was attacking at night. The Special Forces soldiers made progress after intense fighting, and most of the terrorist group was forced to retreat. However, 10 senior Hamas officials were observed trapped inside and around the camp. In this process, the infantry did not advance on land to avoid taking risks and followed air support to destroy the camp where the terrorists were located. Exactly 7 minutes later, warplanes suddenly struck the camp. 10 senior Hamas officials and 14 members of the terrorist organization were eliminated. Israeli forces were seen advancing on Al-Nasser Street. On the other hand, let's move on to the most important news of the day. Israeli F-35s moved suddenly and entered the capital of Lebanon. But before we move on to our topic, I would like to make an important reminder that we follow and analyze the latest and accurate news for you. We share news from more than 100 reporters in the region and reports from military public information systems. It is also worth mentioning that we work more than 15 hours a day. So to help us, please donate by pressing the super thank you button, like the video, and leave a comment. Your support will help us reach more people, keep us motivated, and help us work harder. And now back to the most important topic of the day. The Hezbollah terrorist organization went on the offensive as the major operation of the Israeli forces began. Hundreds of rockets were fired from the Golan. All of the attacks were intercepted by the Iron Dome air defense systems. In the meantime, Israeli warplanes launched airstrikes on all Hezbollah targets along the border. While the warplanes targeted the camps for about 4 hours, Israeli F-35 fighter jets unexpectedly entered Lebanon. Shortly after, the F-35Es were observed flying over Beirut. While the warplanes are still flying over the area, in case Hezbollah launches a counterattack, a massive airstrike could begin. Israeli warplanes loaded with ammunition continue to fly over Beirut and Hezbollah positions. With the start of the Gaza operation, we see that measures are being taken against Hezbollah in great detail. In a short time, the fate of the borderline will be decided. The siege of Gaza will be completed shortly. If the operation is successful, the center of Gaza will be entered. The terrorist organizations are trying to resist with all their might, but I can say that the Israeli army is advancing with a very correct strategy. The terrorist organizations have great problems launching counterattacks with guerrilla tactics because the Israeli forces are attacking without putting their soldiers at risk. As I mentioned, at some point the soldiers call for air support from drones and fighter jets in case the battle gets bogged down. Once the area has been attacked from the air, the infantry starts to advance. The big break will happen in a very short time. Here we are at the end of another video. We will continue to convey the events of the following hours to you quickly and accurately. We continue to convey the events to you objectively. You can like the videos to support us. You can also subscribe to the channel to make it easier to follow new videos. I wish you all a happy day and see you soon.